Hello, my dear programmers. Welcome to TechBuddy. This channel is dedicated to all developers who are trying to learn Java or preparing for the interviews. I'll explain various interview related topics and complex Java concepts in an easy and interesting manner. So, without any further delay, let's dive into today's topic. Today, we will learn about polymorphism. I'm sure you all might have heard about the term polymorphism if you are inter attending interviews. The programmer or the interviewer might have asked you about polymorphism. The term polymorphism, by definition, it means it has two parts: poly, which is many, and morph, which implies form. So that means a single thing has different forms, or in the context of object oriented programming, a single object behaving differently or having different forms in different context. So we have two type of polymorphism. One is the static polymorphism, which is also called as overloading. So overloading is basically when we create methods that has the same exact signature but with different parameters. So we will explain the different variants of overloading. The second type of polymorphism that we have is overriding. But before understanding overriding, please note that overriding comes in the context of inheritance. So that means only when we have the scenario of a parent and a child class, then the concept of overriding comes into action. So if you are new to inheritance, or if you want to learn in depth about inheritance, please check out my other video where I have explained in detail about inheritance and the different scenarios and type of inheritance in Java. So also it's worth to mention that inheritance is also a very important topic in Java. So if you are preparing for interview, please do check out the inheritance tutorial as well. So let's go to the editor without wasting any further time. So let's try to understand static polymorphism, that is method overriding. So let's try to create a very simple class called as let's create a class, yeah, let's call it as fruit. So fruit has let's keep a simple fruit name, string fruit name, and let's create another variable, fruit color. So just imagine I want to return a fruit name based on yeah, so let's first try to create a simple method called as display method. So public void display. So in this display method, what we will do is we will simply print the fruit name. So now let's say you have another requirement where you want to print the fruit color as well, but you want to print the color only when somebody gives the color also in the input argument. So what I want to do is I don't want to change the name, but I want to have a different method in which I can accept the color parameter. So now we have our method in which we can accept the fruit color as a parameter. So as you can see, both the methods have the same name display, but the second method has an extra parameter. So this is what is called as overloading. So we are actually overloading the method display. Why? Because in the initial case we did not have any arguments, but in the second case we have one argument as fruit color. So even we can create further variations of it. So what are the variations? So let's create another method with two arguments. So string fruit name. So now you can see again we have a new method which has two different parameters, but the method name is same. So then what are the different varieties or the combinations of overriding you can create? So sorry, overloading. For overloading, one thing that you have to keep in mind that the method return type always has to be same. The second thing, you can create varieties of overloading by either increasing the number of argument, that means passing different varieties of argument. For example, let's say I create another method here. So I take a parameter something like int a. So even though these two methods they are having the same parameter, but because of the second method it takes integer as the argument instead of string, so that's why the compiler did not complain. But if I try to create a similar method, so you can see the compiler complains because already it has a similar method. So I can create a new method with just a different type of argument. So you can see if I make it int double, so it accepts. So this is the one variant. The second variant can be I can have the same number of arguments but with more than so like with different number of parameters. So that means you can see I can pass a string here, but if I pass two parameters to the method, it stops complaining. Why? Because now the compiler can easily identify that these two methods are different. So these are the different varieties of overloading. So next go to overriding. So we have created a class fruit. Now just think we want to create another class called as apple, which is a type of fruit. So we will extend the apple from the fruit class. So by default the the apple class, it has all the properties of fruit. So just for the sake of testing, if I want to um, okay, so let's create a main method here, and you can see that in the apple class I have not created any methods, any variables. But if I print, if I create an object of apple, if I do this and run this, you can see fruit name will be printed. Okay, so in this case fruit name is null because I am not passing anything here. Okay, so just ignore that. So now you can see that without even like writing any methods in the apple class, we are getting the parent methods by default in the apple class. But what if I want to override? So you can see that the fruit is coming as null here because I am not passing anything. So let's say I want to fix this issue in my child class. So what I want to do here is I want to say hard code it. Fruit name is apple. Okay. So if I run the same exists earlier code, so you can see that the output will be changed now. The fruit name is apple. So why this is happening? Because so earlier we had this display method where we were passing this fruit name as basically this fruit name is not initialized anywhere, so that's why it was printing null. So in my child class I overridden this behavior and I gave a hard coded statement fruit is apple. And because of overriding at the runtime, what the JVM did was, because it um okay, sorry, my mistake. So here it's actually not overriding because I am using the apple reference itself. So to actually see the overriding, so I have to create a reference of the parent, that is the fruit apple, and the object of apple. So if I, let's name it as fruit for sake of simplicity. So if I now run this again, I will be getting the same fruit is apple instead of fruit is null because of the dynamic polymorphism or the overriding. So what is happening at the runtime is this method display inside class apple is actually overriding the parent display. So that's why we are getting this output. So now we will be getting various tricky questions regarding this. So let's discuss that in the next tutorial. So please follow the second part of this tutorial for the different interview related questions that you will be getting out of this and how we will be answering all the tricky questions. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.